Yo, what's going on, fam? Gonna go through all the trades that we took today. It is February 25th. We managed to catch a little bit over 260 points across three trades on the NASDAQ. A really good day. It's been an absolute bloodbath in the markets the last three trading days. So I'm gonna go ahead and jump in here without wasting any time and get after it. All right, so let's just start on the daily time frame just to give you some reference as to what has been happening. You can see on Friday we had a monster sell-off. Right here, we broke structure on the 1 hour time frame. We ended up putting in a pivot high here. And since then, we had a continuation sell-off yesterday on Monday. And then today we had another continuation sell-off, taking out even more lows. All right, we took out this low, we took out this low, and now pretty much if we zoom out and we look at this from a bigger perspective, even on a weekly time frame, we've really just been trading in this one massive range right here, right? So we've been trading in this one massive range. We haven't taken out this low or this all-time high yet. We've just been chopping around through this, and we've had some crazy rallies and some crazy free falls just the last few months in general. All right, so let's dive into the 1 hour and start breaking down what I was looking for today. So my main thing was, all right, we already fell, from the highs. Shit, let's see what we fell. We fell from the highs coming into today, already 850 points, right? So the main levels I was looking for were going to be London lows, right? So we had pre-market London lows around 286, and then we had London highs up here around 452. And we also had those pre-market Asia highs right here around 453. So we had relative equal highs at that level, and we had a 1 hour imbalance above that. So coming into the day, this was the main upper area I was paying close attention to, whether it was for a sweep into this imbalance and then some type of a reversal model back down to the opening print, and then maybe even down to London lows. That was an option. Or if we were strong on the day and we were holding in this area, maybe we inverse this fair value gap, then we could have a rally back up to this hourly level around 650 and this high, right? All of that ended up being completely irrelevant because what we did was we sold off right away, breaking through London lows, which did give us some good setups. All right, so dropping down into a smaller time frame, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the 2 and the 1 minute side by side. The 1 minute on the left, 2 minute on the right. By the way, guys, I'm a bit sick and congested, so if I'm coughing, sneezing, and just sound terrible, you're just going to have to get over it. All right, so the first trade I did take a little bit prematurely. I'm not going to lie. Probably could have waited a little bit longer, but the market opened right here at 9:30, obviously. And once we came back up, we failed to get over this hourly level, over VWAP and over the open. I started to hunt my first short, which came on the 2 minute time frame right here, right? This is what the 2 minute bar printed as, a giant reversal bar. And I did take my first stab here. Now, it's really important to note that I took this 1/3 size. So 1/3 size. The reason being is because we were still obviously trading in between these levels. So we were still in the pre-market range. We were in this smaller range within the overall pre-market range, which are these two white levels. So I wasn't going to be super aggressive until we could either get over London highs or under London lows. So I took 1/3 size. And then once I saw price push back up again aggressively, reject off VWAP and sell off, and then we tried to push up and we were basically failing and holding underneath all these EMAs, I added more to my position where this second green circle is. So then I added another 3 M and Q here. So let me just move that. This, instead of putting 1/3 size, I'll put 3 M and Q. So I took 3 M and Q, which is already 1/3 size, and then I just added another 3 M and Q. So I'm still not in my normal full position size just because I wanted to see how this played out, even though I had a pretty good feeling we were going to continue lower here, especially looking at the hourly time frame. All right, let me get to where price is. Right, we essentially pulled back, put in a lower low, pulled up, put in equal highs, and then we were looking primed to dump. Once I saw we couldn't reclaim this area and we were holding underneath the open and everything, it's like, all right, we're at least most likely going to sweep London lows before trying to rally, or we're just going to free fall. So that's where my bias kind of came from. So going back to the 1 and the 2 minute, here's how I managed that trade. I trimmed a little bit early, again, because we were still within the London high and London low range. So I trimmed some right here, basically average trim. It was about 30 points on my first trim between my first and my second entry. Trimmed again at about 50 points. So 30 points, 50 points. And then I was trying to get out full at London lows, which was about 60. I sold right here for about 66 points in total. And on this trade, I was risking about 17 and a half points. All right, so about a 3.8 R trade. On average, if you take into consideration the trims, guys, you always have to. It's really more like a 2.5 R trade because I took some of the positions off early. So I was in 6. I trimmed light. I think I trimmed 1. I trimmed 2 more, and then I trimmed the other 3 down here. All right, then I waited. Obviously, if I would have held this trade or even added again, I missed out on a big move, right? It dropped another 70 points after I sold. So for me, a big part of that was because I was only in 6 M and Q on this trade. Normally I'd be in at least 10. So I didn't have as many contracts as I usually would to scale out of this position appropriately. So I couldn't hold any runners. I maybe could have held 1 M and Q. But it is what it is. It was still a good trade. I was happy with it. And then price just continually sold off. I was really careful with entering here because I did not want to get caught in a sweep of London lows and a big reversal. Okay, that's why I didn't add right there. So I just waited, and then once we came back up here and we retested, here, draw it like this. Once we retested London highs as resistance and we failed to get back above, we were also retesting the 2-minute 9. Then I started looking for another short. For me, this came after this big rejection here. I waited, we got a pause bar, and then we basically got a 1, 2, 3 on the 1 minute. And I entered a little bit early through here. Now this one was tough because I didn't want to put my stop all the way over these highs. It would have been way too much risk. I would have had a risk about 40 points. So I kind of had a compromise and I put my stop at 20 points. All right. Is it where I would love my stop to be? No, it's not. But it's the only thing I could do that would satisfy my risk requirements and still be able to take the trade. So I entered this one a little bit heavier. I think I entered it with 7 M and Q. I'd have to look back for sure, but it was either 6 or 7 M and Q right here. And then once we got this big bar, I trimmed some first at these lows down here. And then I held the position. We kept falling. I trimmed more down here around 175. So let me just measure that for you. Right, from entry down to here is about 37. And then down towards these lows where I trimmed was about 77. And then once I saw on the 2-minute, right, we pulled back. We got another trending sell. I took this one a little bit early because after this big rejection on the 1 minute, we came right back into the same imbalance we rejected the first time. It looked really good for continuation lower. I didn't have any major key levels down until 110 and then 71. So I added to my position here and I added 5 more M and Q because you have to remember I had already trimmed twice. So I had already trimmed 2 here and then I trimmed another, 2, trimmed, bro, stay. All right, 2, trimmed another 2 here. So I was only in 3 and then I added 5. So I was back in 8 and then we got this nice break of lows. I trimmed, I think I trimmed 4 here. I trimmed a little bit heavier here just because it was a really quick aggressive move and I was in 8 contracts. So it was about almost 50 points there. So I trimmed 4 more. And then again, my main target was this hourly where I was out full. Out full. All right. Then I waited. And if you guys have been following this channel, watching any of my trade reviews, or if you're one of my students, of course, then one of my favorite trades is a slingshot bounce. Now, I would not say this is an A+ trade setup. The reason being is because we did not have external range liquidity here, nor did we have an hourly level here. But at the same time, we had already fallen from market open at that point about 300 points. And on the 5-minute time frame, when I took the first entry on this, we were overextended about 100 points. All right. So what I was looking to do was pretty much fade the sell-off. And I did this very strategically today with the least amount of risk I possibly could. So the way I did this today was, okay, we're approaching all these hourly levels. We're getting hyper overextended on the 1 minute. We're getting hyper overextended on the 2 minute, right? 2 minute was almost 100 points overextended. And at the same time on the 5 minute, we were at these lows from the 5-minute 9, we were about 140 points overextended. So it fit all my criteria. The only thing missing was that key level, which I will say is a very key component. But I was confident sellers were eventually going to get exhausted after, especially after this 1-minute free fall. The 1-minute free fall alone, guys, was over 100 points. All right. So what I did here was I took a 2 MNQ starter. The reason I did that is because at this point I was already up about $700 or $800 on each of my accounts. And I knew that it could fall further, right? There was nothing stopping it from necessarily falling further other than the fact that it was getting hyper overextended. So I started with 2, knowing that I could weather the storm if it fell another 30, 40 points before bouncing. So I took 2, and then after I entered, it did fall another 30 points. At this low, after it kept free falling, I saw volume was hiking aggressively. Now, typically, right, you would want to see high volume for continuation, but this volume was way higher than all the other volumes after free falling, which means in my mind, I'm seeing that, hey, on the 2-minute and the 1-minute, volume was really high. There's also a bunch of sell orders in here, and I could see that as well. So what I did was I added a little bit at 35 here. I added 2 more, right? So it brought my average price down to like 50. And then once I actually saw it starting to bounce, I added another 2. So I added another 2 here. All right, so that put my average price at I think it was 51 was what I was carrying it at. Maybe a little bit lower. It was 50 or 51, doesn't matter, it's close enough. All right, so that's where my average price was now. So once that happened, then it's like, okay, now we're in the position. I put a stop just a few ticks below the lows right here, obviously just to give it a little bit of space. And I was willing to risk about 20 points on the trade, looking for a bounce up to ideally the 2-minute 9, but really just a push up as high as I could get it up to the 1-minute 9, or ideally the 110 level was what I was really targeting. So once we got this aggressive bounce, I trimmed a little bit around 78, and then I just took the rest of it off at the 1-minute 9 up here. So it was a really quick scalp. It was about 48 points from my average entry to my final take profit, and then I did trim some right here, which was only about 25 points. So not a crazy risk to reward trade by any means, but a consistent bounce play that I'm able to capitalize on. You have to be willing to take this trade without the key level and be willing to take the L, because I would say this had a slightly lower chance of success just due to the free fall and without the key level. Anyways, I've been yapping about this. That was the last trade we took. So it was 3 for 3. And then after that, you can see that we did end up finding a higher low here and then rallying a little bit before ultimately falling lower and making a new low. And then we had a crazy rally through here, which I was not trading anymore, but I do like this, right? There was essentially an inverse fair value gap. You could have probably tried to enter somewhere through here once you reclaimed the 71 level and caught most of this up towards this pivot high. That's what I would have been looking to do right through here. So maybe an entry through here I would have liked, and then taking that up towards these highs. That would have been really a really sweet trade. But anyways, guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, let me know, and I'll see you on the next review. Peace.
If you found this video helpful and you want to trade these exact setups live with me in real time, click the link in my description and you can join our trading academy completely free for 7 days. No risk to you at all, except for probably wishing you would have joined sooner. And in addition to all of the live trading, you can also join our weekly trader development calls. You can obviously check out our community, network with other traders, and enjoy our kick-ass personal development and trading resources. I'll see you in there.